Hi, I'm Life by Numbers. My name is Claire. Today I'm going to read Lady Diana Spencer's numerology. I actually already read it at the beach, but I'd been in the water and my nose was all like dry and like flaking the skin off. I'm like, really? Really, body, today? So there's like a whole video there and it's pretty good, but to be fair, I do numerology intuitively, so I've kind of already forgot what I said. So hopefully it'll just come out naturally and just basically like I did it before. So, and then once I've done Diana, I'll probably do Charles as well, and like the rest of the royals, and see how their numbers all interact, because I think that would be quite interesting. So, Diana was born on the 1st of the 7th, 1961. And her life path comes down to a 7. So I'm just going to open my pen here and use it as like a pointer. So 7 life path. 7 life path is quite interesting. 7s I've found, especially if there's a master 77 in their energy, sometimes they can have some addiction issues, but even just 7s on their own, because they're so sensitive and so intuitive, and the body of work that they have to do, because they're also a very analytical number. Like, they're about reason and study and self-development and going within. That can be quite overwhelming for them, and because they're just sensitive anyway, I'm just going to put this down a little bit. Actually, oop. Yeah, that's better. So because they're just very sensitive, they need a lot of time alone. But sometimes instead of utilizing that 7 and the analysis and the reason and the study and the research and self-development and introspection and learning from their experiences, they will reach for something instead. I know quite a few people that either have a 7 in their energy or yeah, like usually in a prominent position, like day, month, year, final results, whether it's for a name or for your birth date. So here is very interesting because she's got this 7 here in her month as well. So it's her life path, but then also she has this 7 energy. Now, I think that these aspect each other potentially in a kind of negative way. Probably it would range from negative to positive. I think because your month represents your strength and your struggle, and that's her life path as well. Sometimes I think she struggled with her life path because it's in the same frequency. So she probably found her life path quite hard at times, but then other times it was also her strength, so she would have done well with it. So yeah, I find this aspect here quite interesting. So yeah, she probably did have some addiction issues. I mean, I think I've heard that she had bulimia and anorexia, and I think that can be tied to like an addictive thing because it's about control. So yeah, so because she's got this overbalance of it, I wouldn't be surprised if she did have an addiction. And I'm not sure, I'll have to look up that thing about bulimia and anorexia. I'm not sure which one she had. But she seemed to recover from it later on in her life, once she was away from the royal family and was more so doing her own thing. So yeah, I find it interesting that it's in her strength and struggle as well. She also has an overbalance of 1s, which is very interesting. And she even has another extra 1 here. It's not in a prominent position, like these are all prominent positions. And this is just sort of, it's still there. So it still has influence, but it's more in the breakdown to get to the life, like the year of birth, and what that number represents in your life path. So 1s, 1s are all about independence and leadership and new beginnings and courage and bravery. And sometimes the 1 can lead by example, which I think really, if you look at Diana, she definitely did that. And then sometimes it's more leading by taking charge and being a trailblazer and delegating and say, you do this and you do that. So it just depends. I think probably you wouldn't have seen that one side unless you knew her very well, and probably only if she really trusted you, because she would have known that she could really push back if she wanted her way, because, you know, and people with one energy do tend to know what needs to be done. You know, you don't have that courage and that bravery and that leadership energy unless you've got a lot of ones. It can mean that you butt heads with people that have a lot of ones, so it would be interesting to know how many people in the royal family have lots of ones in their energy. And it might also be interesting to look at her sons, because as they grew up, if she lived, they might have really butt heads, because when you have overbalance of ones, people can tend to fight because they're all like, I'm the leader, no, I'm the leader, and so they butt heads because they all think that they're right. So that will be interesting. Now, what was the other thing that I was looking at here? Oh, that's right. So because she does have these ones, and it's like the beginning, in the middle, at the end, I feel like she probably had a lot of new beginnings in her life, just completely new, and probably wouldn't have been expected, because it's just like one. And then actually, if you look at this, it's, so usually most people don't count the zeros. So if you do, so it's 01 07 1961. So most people don't count these O's, but the thing about zeros is they're a complete reset. So it's like you've got a complete reset, you know, that 0 point God energy, like being in a state of meditation. And when you're in a state in your life where you're in that sort of hanged man energy, or the fool energy, where it's like you're just about to go do something, but you just can't, it's not time to move yet. So that's sort of what the 0 represents. The 9 represents endings, and the 1 represents new beginnings, and the 0 is between the two. It's sort of like a nothing energy, or like a hold your horses sort of energy. It's like, just sit still for a minute. It's something you need to learn. So she probably would have had periods of just being still, especially because I like to read things in sequential order and intuitively. So because this is like the first set of 1, you've got 0 and then 1, and probably in her childhood she just probably felt like she was just waiting for something, and then she got her new beginning. And then you've got the 0, 7, and then 1. So it's like there's a process to get to this one, and then a process to get to this one. So probably she's had to like slowly wait for those new beginnings. So yeah, I feel like, and the thing with your childhood is people think that your childhood lasts just, you know, till you're 15 or 16 or 18 or 21. But really your first pinnacle in that period of your childhood, of your life, lasts till you're around 30. It depends on your birth, your life path, the way you calculate it. So, but yeah, so that this period in her life could have lasted, you know, even through her 20s, potentially into her 30s. And then, you know, she finally got that new beginning, and then just like reset again. And so you can read the numbers like this, where even though they have their positions and they mean certain things, it's like you can read, there's many layers. So, so the 1 in your date, for your day of birth, that represents the light you want to give to the world, you know, that energy that you want to put back into the world while you're in it every day. So she did want to be a leader. She was independent, and she was brave and courageous. And she did want to show people how things should be done. So she, and I really think if you look at her philanthropic work, she did do that. And then your year of birth is quite interesting. So your year of birth is the karma that you're paying off and paying back for the planet. So she's got 2 1s here, and it's like a gateway for 96. What that comes to. So that's, where should I write that? Here. 15 and then 6. So I'm just going to circle this 96 here. So this 96 here, because she's born in 61, you've got a 1 here and a 1 here. So when you have 2 1s, it's a gateway. It can be a gateway. So she's, oh, I lost a pointer. It's okay. I have a backup. Good Lord. Okay. I'll fetch that later. And I will not lose this one. So she's got a gateway here in her in a karmic position, because you're paying back to the world this energy. So she's got a gateway here, and these two numbers come out to 15 and then 6. So 6 is a very matriarchal number. Some people see it as a bit evil because it's, you know, Satanists have inverted it and used it as 666, like the number for the devil, the devil's number. Oh, come on, what a load of bullshit. So what the 6 actually represents is it's very matriarchal. It's all about births, deaths, marriages, beauty, because I mean, you know, if you go into bachelor pads, like it's not all that common that they're that they look pretty, or that there's like a theme, or they're well decorated, you know, like that's something that women enjoy. We enjoy making things beautiful, not just, you know, functional and comfortable, but beautiful as well. So it's a big family number. It's a big community number. Sometimes it can be about government and like bureaucracy and that sort of thing. So she has this gateway in her year of birth, which is the karma that she's repaying to the world. So she has a gateway to repay her karma, repay the world's karma through family and bureaucracy. And then the whole vibration comes down to an 8. So an 8 is karmic as well. So I think that it probably did give her a bit of trouble, because she's got a gateway that's dealing with, like, you know, worldly family stuff. And then it's in a karmic position. This 8 is also a karmic number. Now, karma isn't necessarily good or bad, but it can be intense, because it's like, it's a big manifester. It's big on organization and development, and you know, what you put out in the world is what you get back. So, you know, people see the 8 as infinity. I actually don't, because an 8 is upright. You know, the infinity symbol is like this. You know, that's not the position of an 8. You know, it's a false belief, I think, to think that the 8 represents infinity. I actually don't at all. And I might explain that later, depending on how long this goes. So, an 8 to me is more like what goes around comes around, you know, as above, so below. It's not really the infinity. Otherwise, you know, we would draw 8s like this. So, it actually is, yeah, it's like a false screen, and I think people interpret it the wrong way. It's just not accurate. So, but because 8s are also hard work, they're hard work and they're karmic, and most people who live 8 life paths find that they have quite a difficult time. So, yeah, I just feel like this altogether would have been quite challenging for her. So the karma that she was paying back for the world, it was mixed in with a gateway and an opportunity to pay back that karma and do all that hard work through family and through community. So, I mean, that's fascinating. Like, you just can't make this stuff up. So, I probably should talk about the 25-7, because, you know, that energy is there. But it's just not, I don't consider these or this a super prominent position. I mean, it is interesting because you've got an extra 7 there and an extra 1. So she definitely has an overbalance of the 7 energy and the 1 energy. So definitely a chance for addictions. You know, I mean, she may have even had like some like alcohol issues that, yeah, I've never heard anything about that, but she could have. she potentially could have. And then, yeah, probably if you butt heads with her, like you probably really butt heads with her. Especially if you had lots of ones and an overbalance like what she has. So 2s are very diplomatic. They're very sensitive. They're a light bearer. So they shine light on dark situations. And yeah, draw it out into the light so that they can use their diplomatic and mediator abilities to weave people together and, you know, to heal things. So a 5 is all about balance and flexibility and movement and change. They can also be a very good channeling number and a very chatty number. So yeah, that's just like a little bit extra of the energy, which really, when you think about Diana, that rings true. So where to begin for the rest of her numbers? My goodness. I'm just going to use a bit of lip gloss here. Now, what I look for to make sure that I've got, that was loud. So what I look for to make sure that I've got numbers right is synchronicity. So the really nearly lost it. The really interesting thing about Diana's numbers, I'm just going to do this because then I can have it here. So the really interesting thing about Diana's numbers is the full vibration comes down to a 13-4. Now, 4s are a very grounded number. So, and whenever I'm sitting in 4 energy, it just feels very calm and relaxed. You know, 4s are everyone's rock. You know, it's the foundation that you build on. So it is a big building number. 13 can be karmic, but that's not necessarily bad. You know, in some cultures, in like China, maybe even Japan as well, they see 13 as very auspicious. So Friday the 13th, if they have a legal document that they need to sign, it all gets signed on the Friday the 13th. So in some cultures, it's quite lucky. So it's karmic doesn't necessarily mean that it's negative, but it probably does present a bit of a challenge. So threes are quite interesting because it's a karmic number. I think that the karmic part really comes in with the 3 because 1s don't really have any kind of karmic energy, but with a 3, because it's the Trinity, it has that Christ energy, that sort of religious connotation. And then it's also, it's perceived that Jesus was 33 when he died, and it's perceived that he was walking the number 33 Master Healer life path. So I think that because of that, it carries some martyr energy, and that's potentially where the karma comes from with that with that 13. But then it breaks down to a 4, so it's very grounded. Now, the interesting thing about this is her whole name, all of her syllables come down to a 4. And then if we go over here, this comes to a 13-4 as well. Now, it's interesting because the full vibration is an 85-13-4. And then her personality over here comes down to a 58-13-4. So the really interesting part about this is that when you look at Princess Diana, I don't know if this is affecting the light, but I move it too close to my face. So the really interesting thing about Diana is what you see from her. So personality represents the way other people see you. So what you see of her is exactly who she is. What you perceive here in her personality and in who you think she is literally who she is. You know, there's some variations back here and back here, but they both come to a 13-4. So with her, what you see is what you get. So if you ever hear any weird conspiracy theories about Diana, not true. I believe in a lot of conspiracy theories, to be quite honest. But, you know, if you hear any negative ones about Diana, I would not be inclined to believe them, because what you saw of her as a person while she was alive, you know, what you saw was literally what you got. That is literally who she is. Now, the other interesting thing about that is very interesting. Wow, okay. So I don't like analyze numbers and go over in my mind what I'm going to say. I just look at the numbers and tell you what what I found. And I actually didn't find this when I was on the beach, so this is very interesting. So, and the good thing, the good thing, and equally the kind of crappy thing, sorry, I have very fine hair and it's like cobwebs, and sometimes it is extremely annoying. Tickles my face. So, so we've got this gateway I was talking about, and that gateway is an opportunity to heal this karmic load from the planet through family and bureaucracy and births, deaths, marriages, beauty, healing, all the numbers of the 6. There's a gateway here to utilize the 6 to get to this 8, which is karmic. So the position of this, I don't know, I'm sure that this is coming across, but this position is karmic and this is a karmic number. So that's why I say that it's, you know, and then she's got a gateway here. So the 11 gateway, so we would consider this as an 11 because there's 2 on either end. So it's not 1, it's 2. So it's an 11 gateway. So an 11 master energy is all about illumination, which is about enlightenment and learning and knowledge. Sometimes that's academic and sometimes that is spiritual, or it can be anything. It can translate as anything. So for this purpose, it's enlightenment and knowledge about family, you know, and you've got the 6 there as well. So there's it comes down to a 6 when you add these 2 numbers together. You get 15, and then you add 1 and 5, and then you get 6. So there's a gateway and a possibility for enlightenment, and because it's in a karmic position, it's enlightenment about karmic situations pertaining to family, births, deaths, marriages, community, bureaucracy, government, that sort of thing. And then through these situations, you get to the 8. So even though she had an untimely death and she was taken too soon, at the same time, my God, did she burn off that karma, because that was all hard work. And like, she did it. Like, she, you know, she was doing it. I think that's probably potentially why she was removed. So the interesting thing about this is when we can get through numbers quicker when we can aspect them, because when you can aspect them with a name and a birth date, you can get through them faster. So there's an 8 here, and because this is about family, as I just reiterated all of that for this moment, so bear with me. So you've got the 8 there, and then you've got an 8 down here in her family name, and this gateway here is all about family. So in her family name, where we've got an 8, and we also have a position in the 8 along with this 6 and this gateway, so it's perfectly aspected. This is what I'm talking about. When you have done someone's numbers correctly, they will not be wrong. If you've calculated them wrong, like, you know, when people's parents accidentally name them something else, you know, like your parents call you Christina, but then your dad goes to register you and but doesn't know how to write and names you Christine instead on your birth certificate. That is not a mistake. That is not a mistake. The only mistake is if you calculate it wrong. So yeah, I have a friend who his parents registered him first with the church as Alexi, and then his father went and registered him with the state as Alexander. And it changed his energy completely. And I read both of his numbers, and there were complete synchronicities when I added both names, everything together, when they were separate and on their own. So yeah, these types of synchronicities, these are so common. If you've done the numbers right, you've got the right birth date, you've got the right full name on the birth certificate, there will absolutely be synchronicities. You know, nothing happens by chance. You are born when you are born to the right family for a reason. So yes, her family, bit of hard work, you know, bit karmic. Probably very organized people, or sometimes you can flip between being very organized and not organized at all. But Spencer doesn't have any other 8s. That's the only 8. So there's really no overbalance of that energy. So it's all of these numbers in here, not these, from the 1 here. So the 8 is the only one, so it's actually quite balanced. So I would say that if anything, probably, no, they are very organised. They've fairly well got their shit together. So, yeah, I would say that they're organised. They have a lot of karma, and I feel like, because it's a money number, an 8, you know, it's a big manifester. You can manifest a lot of money, especially because it's hard work. You know, if you put hard work in, that's what you'll get out of it. But I feel like if you owed them money, I don't think I'd want to cross them, to be honest. Don't cross the Spencer family if you owe them money, because they will get it back. Because there's no balance here. I mean, honestly, probably they wouldn't even lend you money in the first place. They'd probably be really stingy, to be honest. Oh dear, the things that come out. So yeah, that is very interesting. You've got the karmic gateway, like the 11 gateway, in a karmic position that comes down to a 6, which is all about family. And then you've got 8, which is hard work. And then you've got her family name is all about 8 and hard work. And I'm like, well, there you go. So I'll keep talking about her family name while we're here. So she's got a 55 here in sequential order. So I always find that quite interesting. And then actually, if you look at the surname side by side, there's a 55 here. So they've got 3 5s in their surname. So you've got a 55 side by side when they're all together. And then in the vowels, so your vowels in your name represent your heart's desire. So the Spencer family heart desire, there's a bit of mastery energy in here, and they want to be leaders and way showers for the great change of the world. So I mean, that is perfect for Diana's energy. I don't really know much about the Spencers in general, but their heart's desire as a family as a whole is a 1. So a 1 is all about leadership and courage and all of these things. So the heart's desire, like she would have understood that because it's in her energy here as well. So then we get to the personality for her family, and that comes down to a 7. So it's her life path. Like, she fit in perfectly with her family, and they wanted her in their family because this energy, this is their personality, and this is how you want people to see you and how people see you. And so that comes through. So I don't think there's any other sequential. No, there's nothing else there. But it is interesting because her personality and the way people see her comes out as her life path. So again, you've got this, like, what you see from her family name that's in her vibration is what you get with Diana. So that's why I think people saw her as fitting into her biological family, like her nucleus family that she came from. People perceive that's like she absolutely belonged there because you've got this mirror of energy, and because of the position, because it's in the personality. So we'll move on to the heart's desire. So your vows are your heart's desire. So you've got this 11 here, which is interesting because we found this 11 gateway up here. And so she's got that in her heart's desire for Diana. So she wanted this. It's very difficult. Like, she took on a lot, but it's what she wanted. She wanted to work with that 11, with that gateway, with that enlightenment and that knowledge, because it's in her heart's desire for Diana. And yeah, it's in sequential order too. So if you look here, it's in sequential order. Now, the other interesting thing that I've highlighted here is it's 911. So, you know, I mean, even in the 90s and maybe even before that, I don't know what TV and stuff was like. And I wasn't really allowed to watch much TV in the 90s because I grew up in a religious family, and it was like, we weren't allowed to watch The Simpsons or anything really. So, but American culture is so pervasive and so everywhere, and it has been for a long time, and increasingly now it's like ridiculous. It's like a global phenomenon. So we've got this 911 here. So I can't help but think that because that energy is in everyone's consciousness, you know, we all understand that this is the emergency number for America. She's got that emergency energy in her name. because we have that understanding. It's in consciousness, you know. Australia's emergency call number is 000. The UK's emergency call number is 999, I think. So it's just very interesting. I'm just gonna, I don't know if this is gonna let me do it. I don't think it is. Okay, it cancelled. I realised I hadn't put my phone on flight mode, and I was like, if someone rings me, it's gonna hang up. Well, it hung up anyway because I tried to turn it off. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So I will just have to figure out how to stitch this together on my laptop. So yeah, so she's got this emergency call number, and her heart's desire mirrors with this gateway that's in her birth date. So she wanted this energy as hard as I'm sure it was. And then her full vibration for her heart's desire, and then also actually, so in Francis, we've got 2 6s. So her heart's desire and her personality for Francis both come out as 6s. So she was familiar with this energy, because this energy up here, this 6 in this gateway here, and the 6 there. So yeah, she does actually have a bit of 6 energy in there. So that mission that she had in her birth date was, she was supported and familiar with that energy, because it came out as her heart's desire for Francis and her personality as well. So the full vibration of her heart's desire is a 9. Now 9s are about endings, so it's perhaps not surprising that her life was ended early. The heart's desire for a 9 is also, it's a very wise number, and it's a very creative and benevolent. It's a big humanitarian number. And yeah, so I mean, when you look at Diana having said all of that, and that's who she was. Her heart's desire was to be that wise, benevolent humanitarian, and she did it. She did it. So, and then we've already done her personality, and it's interesting because her personality for Diana comes out to a 9. So the way people saw her when, you know, you think Diana, you know, Princess of Hearts, it's literally, it was her heart's desire, and that is how people saw her. So yeah, how people saw her was literally who she was as a whole person. So, you know, like, it's very interesting when you look at the synchronicity for people's numbers. Now let me see if I missed anything. So the full vibration for Francis has a 3, and I've said a little bit about the 3 because it's in the 13-4, but it's not a super prominent position. And honestly, neither is a middle name. Like, to me, a middle name is like, it contributes more to the whole. I think it's more important to the whole rather than as its own thing, unless you go a lot by your middle name, and some people do. In that case, I would say that it carries more weight. But a lot of people don't even know your middle name. You know, I didn't know her middle name was Frances. I had no idea. So I don't, you know, it's there because it's meant to be there, and it's a part of the whole, but it's not as prominent as like your first name or your surname, or the full breakdown of your names. But 3s are lucky, but they do also carry the energy of the martyr, as we were talking about, because it's a Trinity Christed associated energy. But 3s often are lucky. You know, lucky number 3 is not a saying for no reason. So yeah, they're lucky, they're expressive, they're creative as well. They're joyful. Yeah, they're quite fun. The 3 is quite fun. It's a bit of a party energy. So she definitely had that in there, because, you know, all numbers have like a positive and a negative side, and depending on how well you cope with them and how well you work with them depends on if you experience the more negative side of them or the more positive side. And then in Diana, for the full breakdown, it comes to a 20 and then a 2. So I think had she lived and seen 2020, she probably would have been more comfortable than most, because it's in her name. When you've got a frequency in your energy, you're probably actually going to be more comfortable than most, and you're going to be more supported than most, because you have like an affinity with that energy. I find that people that have a 20, especially when their year of birth comes down to a 20 and then a 2, last year, they were just super comfy. Just super, super comfy. So I think she probably would have been like, oh, this is not a big deal. Like, it wouldn't have fazed her much. What's the other thing? I just thought of something and then it's gone out of my head. Oh, that's right, these ones. So she's got some other little sequential things here. An 11 master, and then a 55 master, and a 3 in the middle, because it's 1, 5, 3, 5, 1. And this is 1, 5, 1. So that's very, you know, I look at the synchronicities and the patterns of numbers and I think that's interesting. That's interesting because, you know, like, numbers make up the fabric of our universe. So yeah, like her surname has a lot of 55 in it. 55 is quite spiritual, and it's like a spiritual leader as well, because 5 plus 5 equals 10, which equals 1. But two fives together are very spiritual, like all the master numbers are, because it's a mastering energy, and it's not that the person is a master, it's just that they hold mastering energy, which can be frustrating because it means that, and this goes for the 11 as well, it means that you'll try and do something to a fine mastery. So you will try and master everything you do, which, as you can imagine, gets a bit tiring. Frustrating if you can't pull it off. So there's 55 energy in the full breakdown because they're right next to each other. And then these are the only 2 numbers in her family's heart's desire. So yeah, they do want to be quite spiritual, and they want to master whatever their spiritual beliefs are. They want to master them and be leaders within that. So that's in their heart's desire, and then you've got the 55 there. So you've got sort of more of that energy here. So you've got, they want to be enlightened, definitely, very enlightened. They want to be enlightened when it comes to balance, freedom, movement, change, which is just the 5 on its own, and the 5's there. But then because it's a 55, 11, 55, 3. So they want to master not only illumination, they also want to master being enlightened spiritual leaders. And then you've got this 3 energy because they believe that that will come to, or maybe Diana really, because we're not talking about her family anymore, but her family's got this here. So you've got these ones, it's like she wants to be enlightened, she wants to be a spiritual leader, and like quite wise and a way shower of how things should be done. And by doing those things, she can unlock the abilities of the 3. Whether that is good or bad probably depends on how you walk through the gateway of the 11 and the gateway of the 55. And yeah, I mean, honestly, like, even when someone passes early, and you might look at a lot of energy like this and go, oh, well, they didn't master it. Well, of course she did. Because what's not to say that this reward for the 3 and the fun and the joy and the luck and the happiness doesn't come after you're gone. You know, we're not physical beings living a physical existence. We're spiritual beings living a physical existence. So yeah, like, what's not to say that she lived as long as she was meant to live, and yeah, and is going on to enjoy the fruits of her efforts in that life, in the afterlife or in her next life. And you know, she's only on a 7 life path, so she's got an 8 and then a 9 to go in that cycle of lives, because 9 is the end, and 9 is a potential for, if you're in a 9 life path, there's a potential that your soul doesn't have to come back again if you're like, yep, that's it. I'm done. Now, is that really, really all? I'm just going to have a look here. I think I covered it all. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. So I hope you've enjoyed this. Do like and subscribe, or leave a comment, or, you know, share with friends if you think they might find it interesting. I'm going to do the rest of the royals. I'll do Prince Charles next, and then after that I might do Camilla. because then we can kind of, these are probably going to get longer because it'll be interesting to aspect Diana's numbers to his numbers and see how they sort of stack up. So yeah, the next one will probably be longer. And then it'll be interesting to see how similar or different Camilla and Diana are in their numbers, because I think that could be interesting. And yeah, and then we'll just like chip away at all the other royals and whoever else. If people like, can you do so-and-so? Yeah, then I can do other people, not just the royals. But as long as it's a known figure, I don't want to do, because, you know, known people, all their information is public already. It's like, I wouldn't read a private citizen's numerology online unless they asked me to, and they were totally fine with it. But, you know, if you're like, can you do my mum's? No, I'm not going to do that. If you want a reading for your mum or for yourself or whoever, I have a website. I will link it, and there are listings there, and you can figure out what you want, and you've had a sample of how I work. So it can be a bit confusing and a bit overwhelming, which is why I really just do name and year of birth, because that comes out as your life path. Just that is a lot of information. I don't think people need more than that, because it gets quite overwhelming. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope that you come back and yeah, give me some advice on whose numerology you'd like me to read next. So take care, and take 3 for luck until I see you next time. Bye.